Yo, what's up, dudes? So today we're gonna be doing a little video to help out the noobs out there. We're gonna help out. Are you stuck in the spot where you're like, man, this Linux stuff is really cool, but man, do these guys in the videos make me feel stupid? Well, I'm gonna help you out here. We're gonna help you level up your skills if you're a noob, or if you're a person that's experienced and you just want to glaze over some stuff, and maybe I mentioned something that you might have forgotten or been too lazy to get to. We're gonna lay it all out there, and this is gonna be like taking you from like Linux Mint up to Gen 2, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? We're gonna I'm not gonna go into like ultra mega detail, but I'm gonna lay enough out to where you should be good to go after this. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is terminals, right? So obviously, as a Linux user, you're familiar with what the terminal is. If you've had to install something somewhere from GitHub or wherever, most likely you've had to use the terminal. You had to update your machine or whatever. Terminal right here, very lovely thing. I love the terminal. This is Kitty. I use Kitty as my terminal. Um, it's a very important thing to really find the one that you're comfortable with, right? Like maybe you're not necessarily a person that wants to get into writing configs and all that. I do suggest you do that, but let's say you don't want to do that. There's terminals out there for you. I'd probably say there's three classes of terminals in existence right now. The first being drop-down terminals. Those are usually pretty lightweight, and those are terminals that like they just kind of hang out and then they draw over the top of everything, and you can just type in your commands and hit enter, and you can hide it and then pull it back down and whatever. I don't personally have a lot of experience with those. I've used tilde a little bit. I like more of what I'm gonna talk about in the next kind of class or tier would be the lightweight terminals. I like stuff like ST, Kitty, Alacrity, Foot, Western. Like all of these lighter weight terminals I have way bigger preference for that. It's basically where you want to go. Now, there is a third class of terminals, and I'm going to call them bloatware terminals or like GUI terminals. You got stuff like Backbox and Console, and there's a few, maybe not Console, but there's a few other ones that are just really heavy. Warp Terminal, I think Warp Terminal is a poster child for this. I mean, you literally have to log into your Google account to use it, so there's that. Uh, Find the one that you love, use it. Figure it out, find out all the bells and whistles on it. You'd be surprised on the things that you can do with a lot of this software that they want you to do, right? So finding your terminal. There's not really a lot else I need to say about that, to tell you the truth. So another really great tip I'm gonna have is learn your pathing. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's see. We're going to open up Ranger. I'll talk about TY file managers down the road here, but Ranger basically will help me explain what I'm talking about. So if I go all the ways up, this is the main, folder, let's say, directory of my file system, right? I know if I go to media and I go in here and I go in here, there's going to be a USB stick there if I plugged it in. You know what I mean? If it's mounted, it would be there. If I want to go into my home, I come here. I know I got my documents right there. There's my pictures. I can go into my pictures. Oh, here's my wallpapers. You want to find out where everything is. There's this, what is it? Find Skell? Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of something different, but anyway, there are ways to memorize this. There are ways to just find things like CD or into different directories. Basically, you just want to know where everything is, especially if you're transitioning from Windows and Mac OS, because these are going to be completely different, and other file systems that they use too are going to be completely different between distros. depending on what you're using. I should say that. So make sure you know your paths. Spend a few nights at it. Just sit there and crank it out. Just like stare at it for a few hours while you're listening to music, something. It will help you out in the long run knowing where everything is. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be something super basic. I think even myself and other people that have used Linux a lot, we're just so used to having a browser open and switching to the browser and looking something up. Half the time we forget, we got man pages, right? Like, what is a man page? Like, let's say I want to find out, man said. What does said do, right? Well, right here, I got the manual, and it tells you, like, the description. Sed is a stream editor. Stream editor is used to perform basic text transformations on an input stream, a file, or input from a pipeline. While in some ways similar to an editor which permits scripted edits, such as ed, sed works by making blah blah blah, and then, they have all the flags and, all the information you could ever want to know about sed right there. And it was way faster than if I tried to look it up in a browser, right? For instance, like another one, like how I found out all the commands for my wallpaper handler, man variety. So if I come in here, well, I found out, oh, hey, if I do variety -n, it's going to do the next folder. So, test it out. Look, now we got the next wallpaper. Oh, actually, that one's pretty cool. We'll keep that one. But yeah, so the man pages, they're very useful. They're very quick. I highly recommend learning the man pages, or at least utilizing them. You'd be surprised. It covers all of your normal stuff that happens in the terminal, and it also covers the programs you install. So yeah, it's very useful, very important. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about, which is also very useful and very important, is GNU core utils. Now you might be asking, hey bud, what is the GNU core utils? Well, GNU core utils are basically like just the regular commands that are in Linux, like the ones that are built in. Yeah, let's go. We'll go to Wikipedia. Let's see what Wikipedia says about it. Here we go. So, the GNU Core Utilities, or Core Utils, is a package of GNU software containing implementations for many of the basic tools such as cat, ls, and rm, which are used in Unix-like operating systems. So, knowing these will work in a lot of different stuff, right? So, CD, change directory, going from one folder to another folder. LS, listing the contents of a folder. These are all basic ones that everybody knows, but there's a lot of them, and some ones you might not realize that you actually need in your life. So I highly recommend, just cracking open, a web browser, looking up the core utils. Actually, what is it? Let me, it should be right in my search, because I watched this, yeah, right here. This video, if you want like a really quick, brief explanation about like a bunch of the core utils, this guy does it. It's 27 minutes. It's really not a lot of time to invest into learning about this sort of stuff. There's a lot of things out here. Shout out to Robert Elder Software, man. This is a good channel. Great video. This is a perfect video for noobs. You want to jump in. Hell, you could learn about some stuff that you probably don't even need to know about. And then one day you just whip it out in a conversation and look cool. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's that. GNU Core Utils. Now, if anybody knows anything about me and my YouTube channel, I hate the mouse. I don't like mouses. And I'll explain why I don't like mouses. So I'm a line cook. You know what I mean? I've had jobs where I've had to sit with a knife in my hand for like at least 6 hours of my shift, using all sorts of different things to cook. I've like wrecked my wrists and elbows to like a point of almost no return, And so using the mouse is very painful to me in certain circumstances. So setting up keybinds and having everything on the keyboard where I can just have my wrist like resting on my desk, and everything just kind of stays stationary is very, very, very important. So keybinds, I've got a few keybinds set up. So like I don't use a bar, so obviously I can like push the date and time through my notifications so I can see that. I got it set up for what was it, like Alt U? Yep. Uptime, so 11 minutes on the uptime. Like other things, like I have Ranger uh set to a keybind, my terminal, my GUI file manager, which is Thunar. Yeah, so anything that I'm gonna be using a lot, I set to a keybind, and it just saves you time, like, because I could be like, oh, go here, type Firefox, and then press enter, but reality is I could just do it on a single keystroke, and yeah, it's just way faster, way better. Key bindings, they're super important. They're gonna save you risks. They're gonna save you time, and yeah, when you're sitting there looking like Hacker Man using a computer, that's actually pretty cool. And actually, I should segue into the next thing after keybinds is learn Vim keys. For the love of God, learn Vim keys. It's very important. The way you navigate text with Vim keys, it is replicated in so many other pieces of software, so many different tiling window managers, this and that. It's I cannot stress how much time and how cool I feel, how much time I save and how cool I feel using Vim keys and Vim motions. They're built into everything, I promise you. Like, yeah. So that being said about Vim keys, I'm gonna move on to this, and I'm gonna say, find the text editor that you love. You know what I mean? Find the text editor that you love. Like I said, it's gonna have Vim keys somehow. Get those working. But yeah, the text editor is gonna be very important, and you're gonna want a text editor with plugins. And even if you're not writing code, there's a lot of different plugins you can get that do different things. For instance, you can get plugin to give Vim keys. You can get plugins to make your UI look different. You want a file tree in there, you can have a file tree in there. And there's a lot of options. You want to spend at least, I don't know, a week or two downloading these text editors and trying them out. Obviously, try the big ones first, Try Vim, try Emacs, try Nano, try Sublime Text, try VS Code, try Genie, try Kate. There's a lot of great options out there. And just depending on how light you want to go, how heavy you want to go, what kind of typing and text, because stepping into the realm of an advanced Linux user, you need a text editor. Period. You need one, because you gotta edit configs, you gotta write scripts. Even if you're not being a programming dude and all that, like, you just need it. So yeah, find the text editor you love, just like how you need to find the terminal that you love. You need to be comforted in it. It's got to be your home, right? So moving on from there, we're going to talk about scripting. All right, so don't get all worked up and scared. We're going to talk a little bit about scripting. Now, I'm not necessarily like a master scripting person. I'm not at all. I could write some bash stuff. Most of my scripts are extremely simple, and a lot of the times when I write a script, it's just for me to execute some sort of a command off a key binding. And I'll give an example. Hold on. So I think when a lot of people think about scripting, they think about these like super complex things. Kind of like, this isn't a super complex one, but this is what they think of. They're like, oh, all this stuff, and oh, this is like really crazy. But when in reality, hold on, I gotta go back. In reality, what scripting really is stuff like this. And this is what this is. This is an xdo tool script, and what it basically does is it just opens up Vivaldi and opens up Discord, and then it sends me a little notification to tell me that. And this is like a, like a really easy situation. Like I have another script right here. This is literally just a command. You know what I mean? Like it's a command. So yeah, scripting, get into scripting, learn how to do scripting. It'll enable you to do cool stuff like this. So what this does is when I'm on Arch, right? This is just a folder of scripts that I just have kicking around. I don't use them all on this computer, but like let's say I'm on Arch, it opens up Kitty, and it executes paru minus syu, which is just updating and syncing and doing all that good stuff. And then I have dash dash no confirm, which just means just say yes to everything and let it happen. And then right here is a rm command, which rm is like deleting, like remove. And then recursive folders or files or whatever the hell rf is. And then it's pointed at my recycling bin or my trash. And then it just empties the trash. And then sudo pacman scc, this is just clearing my cache. And then no confirm, and then it reboots. So fresh, so clean, right? All these little all these little scripts, they're gonna save you time. You don't have to type out all this sort of stuff. And like for instance, on these scripts, like since I'm not using a bar, how I have them working is I can press certain keybinds, like right there I get the date, right? And then I can be like, oh, how long has my computer been on? So 22 minutes of uptime, The scripting is very useful, and there's a whole plethora of stuff you can do. So don't write off scripting. I know it seems complex, and it's really not that bad. All right. So let's see, I covered all this. Okay, let's talk about the two last things. You've been seeing it the whole video. Let's talk about TUI file managers, why I use them, why you need to use them. There's a bunch of them out there. There's like Yazi and LF and NNN and Vifm and like Ranger, and there's a bajillion of them. You want to find the one that you like, number one. Number two, you want to find the one that has image previews. Like, so if I go to my pictures and I go to wallpapers, you see the wallpaper, right? Image previews, they help a lot. And using one of these is just going to increase your speed going through here, because especially once you know where everything is, you know what I mean? Like, I want to go to like, let's say I had a USB stick, it would be right there, And this is also, I guess, part of learning your paths. The TUI file manager is going to help you with that in a million ways. And yeah, TUI file manager, I don't think I need to talk much more about that. Now, let's get on to the last subject, and it's the one that I've been shilling on my channel basically the whole time I've been doing this. Tiling window managers. Okay, dude, I know. It looks complex. You got the keystrokes. You got to go into the configs. But it's 2024, dude. You need to touch no config. There's plenty of distributions out there that come pre-configured, and you can just install one of those. And let's say you want Debian or Arch or, whatever. There's going to be a distribution that has some sort of tiling window manager, if not access to all of them, right? So let's say you didn't want to install and configure. That's still an option. Now, if you want to install configure, that is going to teach you a lot about just how different little things work. How, like for instance, in BSBWM, the config file is essentially a bash script. So every time you start your Xorg, it's just going to go through that, and it's going to run through that script as it starts. So, like, yeah, it all ties together. It's like synergistic, right? You learn your text editor, you learn your keybinds, you learn how to use the tiling window manager, you learn about scripting, because you're going to have to do some scripting to use a tiling window manager, most likely. So yeah, tiling window managers are great. If you're a weird person and you want to use window rules, you can set it to be like, oh, I have all these workspaces. Well, I can have Firefox open up on this workspace and X, Y, and Z, and have everything put in the little tiny places where they absolutely need to be. Tiling window managers are great. there's nothing out there that's cool. And then obviously being able to navigate your whole system for the most part on a keyboard, that's saving your wrist, that's saving you time. It's amazing. So tiling window managers, and that's going to be it for the video. I went through, yeah, I think those are a good 10 starting points if you want to move yourself from like a noob user up to like a more advanced user. You got to get that stuff out of the way that I'm talking about. And like don't worry, cuz like over time you'll get it. It's going to seem very daunting. Like me using Vim when I first started, and I'm not a Vim master by any stretch of the means, but when I first started using it and I open up a file and then I'm like, oh crap, I don't know how to close this file. I didn't know that you had to do Shift:/WQ to write and quit. I didn't know that. I'm just sitting there like, well, how am I supposed to? I don't even know how to save the file. But through the course of time, I watch videos of people talking to me about stuff. I read stuff on articles. I read manuals. Over time, I've picked up all this, and honestly, it really wasn't hard, and I'm very lazy about learning stuff. If there's anything I could say in my life, it's like I'm pretty lazy with it. So yeah, don't get discouraged from a lot of this stuff, especially when you start looking at the GNU core utils. There's a lot of useless information there, but just know that there is many little nuggets that you will pull from, and this is the same with everything here. So yeah, if you like the video, please comment, share, like, subscribe, do all the things. Helps me out in the algorithm, helps me out with my mental illness. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.